So that's the paradox. I mean, there are more paradoxes of this kind. I mean, I just highlighted or picked this one and highlighted it on this postmodernist exhibition with its motivation example, or entering the parts or the whole of this exhibition according to these or those expectancy preferences. I mean, when tackling this topic, we may refer or remind about what I've discussed already elsewhere too. That's let's say that there is always a ratio of to which level the author who creates a work of art, or any text, not only work of art but any text, has to be a conformist, or has to comply with norms in order to successfully deliver his message across, mainly focusing on what's to be the again the background, that is more or less where norm should be observed, and what's to become the foreground for the spectator, for the perceiver. And that is usually, or in most cases, where the norm is either to be somehow violated, or adjusted, or accentuated, or where simply banalities that would normally remain in the background are shifted to the foreground, which again, I mean, shifting of a banality to the foreground, or their combinations, is basically a norm violation and some kind of a generalization. So we have these objectively basic norm compliances, for example, orthography, grammar, word order in terms of language, but which can be translated accordingly in terms of the terminology to art or to any other text production, as well as any other rule or habit-based sequencing of elements, ordering them, making them according to the rules, the logic, whereas logic can be as well considered to a greater or a smaller extent a matter of habit, or some habitual relations, reflection, and so on. And then we have the rather subjective inputs, where the author, according to his preferences and goals and strategy, and that what he expects from the from his texts being perceived eventually by the perceivers, may use or apply either some deliberate deviations from the norm, or his own idealectical choice of elements that basically leave, thanks to which, or by virtue of which, he basically leaves his own characteristic trace in his text, creates own mixture of objective, subjective, norm-based expectations with his purely own ones, and so on. So in my understanding, or my conviction, basically all texts, or almost all texts, are combinations of these objective and subjective, of these norm adhering and norm violating elements only depends which sort of texts, how, on which occasions, how read, when and how read or perceived by the perceivers, and so on. So based on this, we can say that we have situations like the described one regarding the postmodernists exhibition, where the unexpectancy or surprise element, or its opposite, when not the unexpected but the greater expected unexpectedness is the case. Maybe either primary or secondary, they're sort of like a pile upon each other, or we have like paradigmatically, typologically, at least two different motivations or paradigms, categories in which we enter the exposure to the being exposed to the texts themselves. First, it's really the text, the painting, the unexpectedness containing painting that we enter, be it as a spectator who never before saw a painting of this kind in his life, and for this reason he evaluates it as something very surprising and really unexpected. Or we have somebody who knows what these paintings are about and is more or less like accustomed, used to this kind of texts, and in such a case, such spectators would go for such an exhibition with, let's say, a mixture of a mixed motivation of entering some generally expected, within which, however, they plan to be exposed to more events of unexpectedness. First, because this is what they've decided to, and they are expectedly looking forward to these events of unexpectedness. Secondly, because their eye most probably is already more trained and more used to deciphering or decoding, not really decoding, or reacting to all these refined, subtle twists that actually embody or represent the subtle twists of deviations from the norm that the author had in his author's strategy or plan, and that thanks to the medium of the painting in this case are conveyed upon or to the perceivers, spectators' mind, attention, and generally perception. So we may in fact distinguish between the content itself first, which in this case would be a series of events of unexpectedness with almost each perceptive event when following and looking at the works of art, the paintings, and then the whole situation, which means placing these works of art, these paintings, into a whole, into the exhibition place, the totality of which, in fact, creates a constellation or configuration that, in its totality, in its general way of being, works on the spectator, perceiver, exhibition goer as something welcomely expected. So he welcomely expects this sum total of artistic texts, each of which, because each of which presents him or them with an opportunity to delve into a series of welcomely unexpected, in each concrete case, of welcomely unexpected perception or perceptive experiences. So this way we possibly may distinguish these two lines as two separate perceptive lines, and accordingly attribute each other its own perceptive experience, or its own perceptive experience track, which could be possibly an answer, though not solicited, not required, to this postmodernist exhibition paradox challenge, if we may call it this way.